Hey, folks! Today's episode brought to you by sunsetlakesabadee.com. Use the code LEFTISBEST for 20% off. 20% off what, Sam? Well, things like smokables, things like keef, flour, or edibles like gummies to help you sleep, gummies to help you relax, gummies with a little THC in them. Or you could have Sabadee fudge or Sabadee coffee or lotions. Lotions to help hydrate your skin. Lotions or salves to help your sore muscles or your eczema if you want to use it off-label. They have all sorts of great Sabadee products. And the best thing about it is not only that they don't use pesticides and they're growing, they use integrated pest management. Not only do they have great farming practices, but they are movement partners. You're helping support a company that has donated tens of thousands of dollars to things like strike relief funds and refugee resettlement and carceral reform and Planned Parenthood and give directly. The list goes on and on. Food pantries. They've engaged in mutual aid up in Vermont in the wake of the floods a couple of years ago. Just an all-around great company. Great farming practices, great business practices, mostly employee owned. Check them out. sunsetlakesabadee.com. Use the coupon code LEFTISBEST and they'll give you 20% off. And now, time for the show.
The Majority Report with Sam Seder, where every day's Casual Friday. That means Monday is Casual Monday. Tuesday, Casual Tuesday. Wednesday, Casual Hump Day. Thursday, Casual Thurs. That's what we call it. And Friday, Casual Shabbat. The Majority Report with Sam Seder.
It is Friday, February 13th. 2026. My name is Sam Seder. This is the 5-time award-winning Majority Report. We are broadcasting live steps from the industrially ravaged Gowanus Canal in the heartland of America, downtown Brooklyn, USA. On the program today, David Dayen, executive editor of the American Prospect, co-host of the Organized Money podcast, to look back on this week that was, as it were. Also on the program today, DHS shutdown, all but happening tonight with, at this point, no end in sight. Trump very determined to have his secret Gestapo force, and Republicans seem quite okay with that. Meanwhile, the Trump regime totally erases the government's power to fight climate change. Former Obama White House counsel and top Goldman Sachs lawyer resigns over the Epstein files. Inflation cools. Meanwhile, the New York Fed puts out a report saying Americans have paid for virtually all of Trump's tariffs. It's a secret tax. Judge blocks Hegseth's attempt from punishing Senator Kelly for producing a video encouraging military personnel to follow the Constitution. DOJ antitrust chief fired on the brink of massive mergers. White House using U.S. AID funds to pay for Russ Vote's security. That Tulsi Gabbard whistleblower, apparently the complaint was based on intercepted conversations about Jared Kushner. Moderna, in the wake of the FDA not even reviewing its application for an mRNA flu vaccine, ends its investments in phase 3 vaccine trials, shelves vaccine for Epstein-Barr, herpes, shingles, and other viruses. 11,000 New York City nurses are back to work after contract approval. Meanwhile, 4,000 of those 15,000 that went on strike, 4,000 from the Presbyterian Hospital, they rejected their contract. And in Nevada, 74 sex workers fight to become the first in U.S. to unionize. All this and more on today's Majority Report. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Emma Vigeland, still out, on the mend, anticipating her return on Monday.
Yeah, unlike RFK, we take germs seriously here.
I take germs seriously.
You saw
I
that,
know what you're
right?
talking. He was doing, what was it? He was doing a blow
Off the
a
toilets?
toilet seat. I mean, I don't. I don't know. I mean, I guess if you wash your hands afterwards.
Not like he has an
must be-
important job or anything.
Yeah, I mean, who is he? He's not doing that still, is he?
I don't know. His blood pressure looks pretty high.
He looks like he's really excited. I had now, where is that? Shoot, I lost that email. I wanted just to give a heads up. We have a link in the podcast and YouTube and at majority.fm for a survey. If you are 18 years or older and you voted for Mamdani, a high school kid who listens to the program from Frank Sinatra High School is doing his an AP course, I think in government, and has a survey up. So if you are we're a voter in New York City over the age of 18, you voted for Mamdani, you're from one of the 5 boroughs, head over there and help a kid out who's doing a really interesting project. It's very exciting when we hear from high school students, really any type of young people doing this kind of stuff. And then I start to feel like, did I screw up as a dad? Like my kid,
You know that organizer we met at that Mamdani rally?
Yes.
In Manhattan?
I run into this problem
like
quite a
14.
bit. There's a lot of times, I mean, and my daughter's she's doing great right now. She's she's a voracious reader, and she's got, I'm not going to brag about my kid getting a 3.6 GPA through her
Nice.
junior year, right? I did not get that when I was in college.
Nor did I.
So go over and if you are one of those voters, it's going to take you about 10, 15 minutes to fill out that survey, but it would really help. But obviously don't do it unless you were a voter because, you don't want to screw up the guy's stuff. Great job by Matt yesterday. Says no sleep till.
Thank you.
And looks like Emma wasn't listening when Sam taught the crew about Wally Pipp. Wally Pipp filled in. Wally Pipp was the guy who took the day off when Sandy Koufax took over.
Oh.
It's mentioned down here like once every 2 months.
Exactly. It's the one story I know. This is a big deal. The Trump administration is the fundamental building block of dealing with climate change was the EPA finding that greenhouse gases were a form of pollution. And almost all of the U.S. government's regulatory actions to inhibit climate change have been born out of that finding, whether it's CAFE standards for vehicles or emission standards for factories, or the idea that we're going to create a mechanism to discourage the use of coal and build upon sustainable and regenerative power, on and on. And the Trump administration did away with this yesterday. And in many instances, U.S. corporations may or may not change what they're doing because of it, because most of them recognize that climate change is real and that the body politic does, and that this is going to get reversed. But it's going to be a field day for some places. And I will just note that, like, it was maybe 4 or 5 years ago when the right was saying, why should we do anything when China is such a problem? And within those 5 years, like, China has now overcome Ford in terms of producing EVs, and has seriously started to whittle down its emissions.
Yeah, to the extent that it may have peaked early.
Here is Stuart Vonnie and Doug Burgum excited about the prospect of drill, baby, drill.
According to the Wall Street Journal, President Trump is set to repeal the 2009 endangerment finding, which will end the regulation of greenhouse gases virtually. Interior Secretary Doug Burgum rejoins us this morning. Mr. Secretary, is this the last nail in the coffin for the Democrats' Green New Deal?
Stuart, this is fantastic news. Under President Trump's leadership and our great EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, this is historic. This is going to be the largest cutting of red tape ever by an administration. This endangerment finding was on top of it was a house of cards. This knocks over the whole thing. This has been, since the Obama administration forward, there's been 20 years of cost placed on the American consumer, but it wasn't like they had a chance to vote on it. It wasn't like Congress had a chance to have a say. I mean, the cost of whether it was your automobile that you were driving or the gas heater that you were putting in your home, any of these things just raised the cost on American consumers without their choice. And then some states following suit and then banning consumer choice and saying it must be a certain type of product, like it has to be electric, it can't be natural gas. All of these things driven by the endangerment finding. This is a huge, huge break for every American. This is part of President Trump making things affordable again in this country, and a policy of energy abundance and energy dominance. I mean, this is just a massive change.
First off, in the main, the U.S. consumer does not get to choose the prices, and it's really up to what is driving the most amount of profit at any point. What we also will lose is the capacity to assess the cost of these things, the cost of wildfires, the cost of flooding, the cost associated with extreme weather events, the cost associated with cancers and asthma and health. None of that is on the ledger. Or, the future of the planet. None of that's on the ledger. This is the ultimate in borrowing against the future and looking at one side of the ledger. Now, so some things may be cheaper. If we didn't have regulations on, let's say, cars, I'm not even talking cafe standards, but like that you need to have functioning brakes, you could probably get cheaper cars. Once I had a libertarian call in and say, like, they should have just kept selling the Ford Pinto and people would just get a cheaper car with the chance that occasionally it might blow up.
You might be the opening seat of Casino.
Right. I mean, it's just possible. Somebody bumps into the back of you and you just get the luck of the draw. But that's where we're at. Here is Donald Trump also bragging about this. He's getting an award?
Yeah.
Yeah, the day after they announced this, he's getting an award as the undisputed champion of clean, beautiful coal.
Oh, yeah, here we go. The biggest question about this is, like, what coal magnate paid him $1 million?
Well, actually, I'll just go back to Burgum here, who people should know is a billionaire because he did a deal with Bill Gates, and he's a tech guy. So this coal stuff is not just for coal miners; it's actually for tech guys who want to burn coal to power their AI machines.
Cletus.
Sir, to show our appreciation, the trophy says the undisputed champion of beautiful clean coal. Thank you, sir.
Trump touching the crotch of a different kind of miner.
Yeah. As if there's the reason why he's the undisputed champion of beautiful clean coal is because there's no one else vying for that title.
Yeah, ridiculous. Doesn't even employ.
There was a right winger. There was a right winger who was on Albany radio years ago. I think he's on XM now, and he I can't remember what his name was. It had something to do with not man cow, but something like that. Andrew somebody, and his opening was the undisputed champion of the second wave of conservative talkers. I was like, okay. Here's Lee Zeldin, former New York politician, complete lunatic. He is now the EPA administrator. He does not believe in climate change. Again, this has nothing to do with the Green New Deal insofar as 17 years after this finding by the EPA to allow for mitigating the problems of climate change, we never had a Green New Deal. This is about essentially just being able to fight climate change. Here's Lee Zeldin.
You believe that the talk of climate change is a hoax?
When you're putting forth tens of billions of dollars to pay off your well-connected former Obama and Biden admin officials and Democratic donors, wasting taxpayer dollars, yeah, that's a problem. Trillions of dollars of regulation and costs on American families, that's a big problem. It has been a con job of using this for more power and control. For example, they push environmental justice. They appropriate $1, and rather than remediating an environmental issue with it, they want to spend the dollar on an activist group to train other activists to come be activists and advocate in D.C. to get more money so that they could advocate. You try to wrap your head around the way the money's wasted.
These waters run deep. That's what I take from all this. Sir, thank you. You believe...
These waters run deep.
This glass does as well.
We're running a lot deeper soon.
Zeldin is a longtime climate change denier, and he won't. He sort of avoids saying it specifically there because he realizes how bad that sounds.
Burgum is a guy who says that carbon isn't a pollutant and also that we should invest in carbon capture technology. So these are all liars.
Yes. But that's where we're at. It's just put it on the list of things that are going to have to be reversed. And we were already 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years too late in terms of climate change. And this is not just going to inhibit our ability to mitigate climate change. This is going to inhibit our ability to adapt to climate change. So it's going to be a disaster, but like many of these things, it's going to be a disaster years out from when it happens, and in a way that our society seems incapable of drawing a direct line from and to. In a moment, we're going to be talking to David Dayen about some other horrors of the of the past week. But first, a word from our sponsor. Well, a word from me about our sponsor. Right now, and for a while, we've been experiencing near spastic economic uncertainty thanks to technology, politics. The New York Fed today say that U.S. consumers paying virtually all of the tariffs. The various crypto and dollar markets, etc., Many of us are probably underinsured, overpaying, and underprotected, especially if your policy is through your job. One way to protect your future is through life insurance with Select Quote. I think Matt mentioned this yesterday, but for me, having life insurance hanging over my head when my daughter was born was terrifying. And the beauty of this is it's once and done. But somehow getting to that once is very, very difficult for people, and it's understandable. It can be extremely intimidating, but here's a way to make it much easier. For over 40 years, SelectQuote has been one of the most trusted brokers in insurance, helping more than 2 million Americans secure over $700 billion in coverage. Their mission is simple: to find you the right insurance policy for your unique needs. They shop, you save. Unlike other one-size-fits-all insurance companies, SelectQuote's licensed agents work for you. In as little as 15 minutes, they'll compare policies from top-rated carriers to find you the best fit for you. And they work for you for free. Head to selectquote.com/majority. A licensed insurance agent will call you right away with the right policy for your life and budget. No medical exam, no problem. They partner with providers offering same-day coverage up to $2 million without needing to visit your doctor. Have high blood pressure, diabetes, heart disease? SelectQuote has partners with policies designed for many pre-existing health conditions, so you get the protection you deserve. Life insurance is never cheaper than it is today. SelectQuote, they shop, you save. The point being, as you get older, life insurance gets more expensive. So now is the time to do it. Check out whole life insurance, term life insurance. They'll explain to you the difference. Google and see what's, do some research, find out what's best for you. But it's a great, straightforward way to make sure you're getting the best deal from legitimate carriers. Get the right life insurance for you for less and save more than 50% at selectquote.com/majority. Save more than 50% on term life insurance at selectquote.com/majority today. To get started, that's selectquote.com/majority. I don't give financial advice, but I got term life insurance. So I do it, for a certain period of time till my kids are out of college, when they were young. So check it out. We'll put the link in the podcast and YouTube descriptions. And quick break. When we come back, David Dayen, executive editor of the American Prospect and co-host of the Organized Money podcast. Right back. We are back. Sam Seder and David Dayen. I should say Emma Vigeland is out today. Still a little bit under the weather. Welcome back to the program. David Dayen, executive editor of the American Prospect, co-host of the Organized Money podcast. David, welcome to the show. There's going to be, almost guaranteed a shutdown of DHS, 240,000 some odd employees. Let's just start. What is your understanding? What will happen to ICE? ICE is the only thing that's going to function, it seems like, out of the DHS after this.
Yeah, so we're going to be reporting today that Democrats actually made an offer to Republicans to cleave off ICE and CBP and fund the rest of DHS, and Republicans said no. So Republicans are going to come out today and say, Democrats are shutting down TSA, they're shutting down the Coast Guard, they're shutting down FEMA. In fact, Democrats had offered to fund all of that because their core issue is with how ICE is functioning and how the Customs and Border Patrol are functioning. So yes, you are correct that because of the big, beautiful bill, which gave $75 billion to ICE and something like $65 billion to CBP, those agencies will continue to function despite DHS being shut down. However, I think we should see this as an opportunity to go after the base funding of these agencies as long as they're funded supplementally by additional funding. That's certainly what Republicans would do, right? So when Democrats increased the budget for the IRS, what did Republicans immediately do? They went after the base funding of IRS so that that funding was not supplemental, but a replacement for the base funding. And I see no compelling reason to fund ICE in the next 3 years. They have, like you just said, they have all the money they need. So we should, Democrats, in my view, should say, okay, well, this base funding doesn't need to exist anymore as long as you got $75 billion, which is 7.5 times the annual budget of ICE. As long as you have that, okay, we won't fund ICE anymore. So I see this as a prelude to that.
How does the appropriation of that extra bump, like, was that a one time? We're just putting into your ledger or your checking account essentially, and so that money's already there.
Yeah.
Okay. And so they're going to be able to continue on with their operations because they're using that essentially their slush fund as opposed to the operating budget. Okay. That seems like a very obvious thing to basically say, like, we're not going to we don't have the ability to shut down ICE, but why do they need this extra money? They're not showing, there's no.
I mean, it makes all the much more sense when you recognize that Tom Homan has taken ICE out of Minnesota, or claims he will be anyway, and that they are moving ICE to a targeted operations mode. This is their claim. I don't know that it's true or not, but this is their claim, right? We're just going to targeted operations. We're not doing these roving patrols. We're not doing stop and grab anymore. Well, what do you need all that money for? I mean, the whole point of the surge was because you were doing expanded operations. If you're not expanding the operations, sounds like you don't need that money. So one way to claw it back is by just defunding the base budget.
Well, have the Democrats been, how public have the Democrats been with the offer that they made to fund all of DHS but for ICE and CBP?
It's going to be public in about 2.5 hours when we report it. So,
well, I mean, with all due respect to you, why didn't they come out and announce this? It sounds like why aren't they doing any politics around this?
I mean, I think obviously this is going to come out, and the list of demands that we've seen are all about reform. There has been no demand to claw back that money from last July.
Right.
But I think there's a way in which we're kind of backdooring into that by not funding the base budget. And as long as those, there's an impasse there, I don't realistically think there's going to be an impasse for 3 years, but there's a compelling case for there to be an impasse for 3 years on the ICE budget and on the Customs and Border Patrol budget.
Democrats could just at this point come out and say, we're willing to fund all of DHS, but there's been no need for additional funding for ICE. And it's that simple of a message.
Right. And essentially they did that back channel to the Republicans. They said, we'll fund the rest of the DHS budget. And when this comes out, fortunately, nobody listens to your show, so we're going to.
No, we're not going to. We're not scooping you. We're not scooping you. People can, I would suggest because Chuck Schumer and Jeffries don't seem to want to go out and tell people that this is the offer they've made, which seems to me to be absolutely bizarre. I would imagine this is what I would have been coming out with at the beginning of the week. And going on whatever it is that they go on, Morning Joe or the weekend shows or whatnot.
I mean, it's kind of an extension of what they did 2 weeks ago, because 2 weeks ago, there were 6 funding bills that were outstanding, right? And they said, we'll pass 5 of them. We're just not going to pass DHS. We want to negotiate on that. And eventually, Republicans caved and said, okay, we will pass those other 5 bills and we will negotiate on DHS. Now, you can see the circle tightening even more. Okay, we'll pass all of DHS except for the ICE budget and the CBP budget. And Republicans initially balked at not passing the 5 bills without DHS. And I feel like you could get them to eventually agree to pass the rest of DHS without ICE and CBP.
Well, they would rather do that than say any of this money is contingent upon, let's say, no masks or whatever, right. Or a willingness to abide by the Constitution when it comes to judicial warrants. But
right. They've said those are non-starters. I mean, Republicans have come out and said we are not going to do that. And so at this point, I think Democrats are justified to say, okay, fine. And you can deal with the $75 billion that you got last July.
It's so frustrating. And I know, obviously, this is I'm howling at the moon here, but it feels like the Democratic leadership could come out and say, the Republicans agreed that DHS, that ICE should not be wearing masks, and they've reversed themselves, and just make Republicans say, we have not. No, we're in favor of masks, because right. It is such a, this is not even like a 70-30 type of thing. This feels like a 90-10 thing, particularly right. After all the Second Amendment stuff. And they just are not, it continues to shock me how little politics the Democrats feel like they need to do for the fall.
Well, and yet, in spite of that, I mean, I think they have gotten on the right side of this issue, right? I mean, they are in a place where they're really, they've put Republicans up against the wall, forcing them to have to, first of all, back off of the aggressive enforcement. I saw a story today about how Republicans think backing out of Minnesota is going to help them in the elections, right? So now that's kind of the way they're thinking, yep. Is that we can't do this anymore, number one. And number two, agreeing with the basic premise that the way things were going, whether in Minneapolis or elsewhere, needs to be changed. So Democrats got that far. Now I think they're backing into what I think is the other correct, circumstance here, which is just defund ICE. Yep. just claw back the base funding, because they already have enough money to last them 7 years.
Yeah, I guess I want to see more aggressiveness. I'm of the school of when your opponent is injured, it's a great time to injure them more. But I mean, that's the way I work. But speaking of which, I mean, with that said,
that's why you were banned from the National Football League, because of that mentality.
There was a what do you call it? There was 1 or 2 times where I had problems at school, high school, but nevertheless, let's talk Epstein. There's a lot of fallout from Epstein. I know you guys are working on a bunch of big stories that you can't talk about, and won't even say to me.
I gave you one scoop. I can't give you another.
No, I understand. But today, Barack Obama's former White House lawyer, and now the chief lawyer at Goldman Sachs, she had to resign. It's sort of fascinating. I mean, I guess we've seen it across the board, but none of the hardcore Republicans associated with this seem to have resigned. It seems to be, and I think everybody should. I would like to have all these people excommunicated from society. But it's interesting to watch the dynamic where, for the most part, not across the board, to the extent that there's any accountability, it's happening not with some of the most prominent players.
I mean, that's more pronounced if you go outside of America, right? So there's this kind of shame meter, and the shame meter in Norway or England is more towards the side of actually having some. And then you get to the Democratic elite, and there's less ability to have shame, but maybe some existing vestigial sense of shame, and that's what we see in Rumler. And then you get the Republicans, there's no shame at all. And so Howard Lutnick is still the Commerce Secretary, for example. Or
it's really impressive how Lutnick has been able to maintain. We should also say, though, I mean, to fair, I mean, Larry Summers seems to be, for the most part, you know, off the scene, as it were. Nobody who has lauded this guy or promoted this guy. I mean, this is someone who's probably one of the most significant players in Democratic economic policy for a couple of decades. And nobody who has been propping this guy up in many respects seems to have have even had a word to say about it. I mean, this guy was sitting on Project 2029 for the Democrats up until moments before this. And it's shocking.
Yeah. I mean, I think I wrote sort of last summer when this was really bubbling up that the Epstein scandal is a policy issue, and people aren't looking at it that way. It just looks like a window into how elites talk to each other when they think nobody's listening. But the policy issue is elite impunity. That's the policy issue that has really engulfed this country for the last 25 years, if not longer. The fact that nobody went to jail for torture under the Bush administration or lying the country into war, the fact that nobody went to jail for the financial crisis and the mass unemployment and 10 million foreclosures that engendered, built upon a mountain of fraud. All of these things have sapped faith in institutions to a level that is really debilitating for progressive politics. On our next episode of Organized Money, we actually have Ro Khanna on. He wrote the Epstein Files Transparency Act. That is the reason we're seeing all these emails right now. And it was really fascinating. He talked about how his politics almost have changed because of his association with this piece of legislation, that he recognizes now that accountability actually has to come first before policy. He was kind of a policy wonk and someone who, you know, he really was more comfortable talking about, you know, what we need to do in rural America or you know, this policy or that policy. But he realizes now that accountability actually is what gets you the buy-in to go forward with an activist government. And what we're seeing right now is only a part of that accountability. You know, what we're talking about is getting people to step down. It's kind of like a neoliberal version of accountability. We hope the market will discipline these people into shame. But that's not real accountability. It's transparency, which is certainly part of it. But until we have the courage to use justice dispassionately and be willing to follow evidence where it leads and take action, then we're not going to have that accountability. And I think, you know, the way that Democrats are starting to talk about this, the fact that, you know, many of them agreed to issue a subpoena to Bill Clinton, for example, it shows that they're understanding that this accountability issue, which I described literally 10 years ago in my book, Chain of Title, as a rot at the heart of our democracy, is much more important than they had expected.
Yeah, that type of like literal, almost material accountability is the scaffolding for all of the rhetoric and all the sort of cultural and the shaming and whatnot. And all of that stuff it crumbles, and it actually, I think, cuts the other way without the actual material accountability. It feels like we've got a lot more of that coming. I also want to, you wrote this week, I think with Ryan Grimm, about a couple of candidates in Illinois getting sort of not quite AIPAC funding, but sort of like, or I guess maybe sort of laundered.
Well, one of One of them's direct now. So they're actually, I did two pieces on this, one with Ryan and one individually. And the one with Ryan, yes, talks about two ways in which AIPAC, without endorsing candidates or without using its designated super PAC, which is called United Democracy Fund, is finding ways to support and influence elections in favor of their preferred candidates. They're doing this in a couple different ways. One is by using super PACs with very neutral sounding names like Elect Chicago Women or Affordability Chicago Now.
Didn't Andrew Cuomo run on the New York Women for Women line? I think 1 year he did or something.
Yeah. So they're using these super PACs to deliver support. There are three candidates. One is Melissa Bean in the 8th District of Illinois, where Raja Krishnamurthy is running for U.S. Senate. So these are all open seats, all three of these, actually. So Melissa Bean, she used to be a member of Congress. She was a banker. She was the head of the New Dems. She's really a nightmare. She's getting support from Elect Chicago Women. Laura Fine in the 9th District, where Jan Schakowsky used to be the congresswoman, she's stepping down. She's getting this support. She's a state senator, also from Elect Chicago Women. And then this woman, Donna Miller, this is the most interesting case to me. She is a Cook County commissioner. She's running in the South Side, 2nd District of Illinois. Now I'm not remembering. There's so many of these open seat races, but oh yeah, Robin Kelly. Robin Kelly is also running for U.S. Senate. She actually had very little money in the bank. She wasn't really gaining a whole lot of traction. It's a very crowded field. And he ends up fundraising $1 million in the fourth quarter of 2025. And all of a sudden, there's this super PAC, Affordable Chicago Now, that is supporting her with millions of dollars of ads. And subsequent research, this is the second way now that AIPAC is supporting these candidates. Subsequent research showed that about 83 to 84% of Miller's donors had previously donated to AIPAC. All those fourth quarter 2025 donors, out of the $1 million+ dollars, something like 850,000 came from former AIPAC donors. And those
that's
donors,
stunning. That's quite an email list that somebody has.
Well, and you see it even more so with the fact that 65 of those donors also donated to Laura Fine, and 230 of those donors also donated to Melissa Bean. So there's a coordination that's going on where AIPAC is sending emails, setting up unlisted fundraising websites where you can donate to one and the other. Many of these donors were giving the same amount of money to different candidates on the same day. You can see that in the campaign finance data. So AIPAC sets up these websites or emails their donor list and says, hey, go directly support. So normally this would be like AIPAC bundling money to give to these candidates. But the way that they're doing it, they are basically saying, you go give money to these candidates, and unless you dig through the campaign finance data, you don't notice the pattern.
The associations whatsoever, and who even pointed them in that direction.
Correct. You can't even find them. They're unlisted campaign websites that is coordinating all these efforts. So those are three. And then a few days later, I found there's a fourth. So there's a race in God, now I'm forgetting all the numbers. It's like the 7th District, I think. This is the west side of Chicago. Danny Davis was the congressman. He's stepping down. And this candidate, Melissa Conyers-Irvin, is actually getting direct support from United Democracy Project, which is AIPAC's super PAC. And she's getting $2.8 million in support. And she was previously kind of an also ran in the campaign fundraising race. She only has a few $100,000 in the bank. So this is a massive amount of support. And you see it, in a city like Chicago, where it takes a lot of money to get notice. These super PAC ads are very, very useful to break out of the pack, because a lot of the other candidates can't afford to put ads on the air at all.
Particularly when you have half a dozen, 8,
in some cases, 8, 10, 12 candidates for the primary. And by the way, this primary is in March. This is why we're learning about Illinois first, because Illinois is one of the first states to have its primary. The primary is March 17th. And
there's no analysis as to, the functional equivalent would be if on the majority report we said, hey, go support this candidate, go directly to their website. There'd be no, unless you knew that, somebody was paying attention to what the majority report was doing, you wouldn't know that's where those 50 donations came from. But I'm curious.
And I want to be clear, there's nothing illegal.
There's nothing illegal about this.
I mean,
but I'm curious about
any candidate you want.
Of course, but it's helpful to know if 50 donations are coming via the majority report, it gives you a sense of what the politics are that are supporting that candidate.
There are progressive organizations that do this, like the Progressive Change Campaign Committee.
Yep.
Does this, but they do it in public. And they say, we're putting up a public fundraising website because we want the candidates to know.
Oh, that we take credit from. Yes, there's another way to do it is where go to the Majority Report Act Blue page, and that money will go there. But here's the other question: is that do we have a sense of those, whatever that pool of donors are, that AIPAC can basically say, hey, go donate here, go donate there, and they do it like 1-to-1 conversion rate. Do we know who those people are insofar as what their history of supporting candidates are? Because my guess is, at best, it's 50-50 Republican Democrat, maybe worse.
Well, we know that there are a lot of AIPAC donors that support Republicans. In one race, the Donna Miller race, we know that she received, of that $1 million, that she raised in the fourth quarter of last year, about 40,000, I believe, came from Trump donors, like people who donated to Donald Trump. And that's true to a smaller degree for Melissa Bean and Laura Fine. So there's a lot of cross-pollination there. There's no question. And, J.P. Pritzker came out today in an article on Mother Jones and said that AIPAC is now an adjunct of the Republican Party. And yet they continue to play in these primaries on the Democratic side. And they're not even the biggest.
But where's the Democratic Party
campaigns.
in this? After Malinowski made that proclamation after he lost in New Jersey 11th to a progressive Mejia candidate, where is the Democratic Party in basically, because they have the capacity, if not, they can't say, they can't outlaw AIPAC, but they can really discourage money from entering in and punish, candidates who receive that money and take it. Where's the Democratic Party in this?
Well, let me talk about two things. I will get to that. But first, one thing we should say is that AIPAC learned from what was a total colossal mistake in the New Jersey race, right? Yeah. They go out and attack Tom Malinowski basically because he wouldn't bend the knee to say unconditional support for Israel. He left open the idea. This is a guy that AIPAC supported in the past, Malinowski, when he was in Congress. They said, we're going to make a lesson of you. Like you have to toe the line completely. And if you don't, we're going to attack you. And by attacking him, they left open the ability for Ana Lilia Mejia to win the race. And she did. And so the spots that we're talking about in these Chicago area races are all positive. They are not attacking some other candidate. They are all, biographical, positive spots about Melissa Bean, Donna Miller, Laura Fine, Melissa Conyers-Ervin. That's so there was a lesson learned there. I feel like that. Okay, we're not going to sort of attack people for having, diminished loyalty. We're going to uplift in these open seat races and try to cut through the clutter by raising them up. Now, as far as what the Democratic Party can do, it's a bigger story than AIPAC, right? So in that same race where Donna Miller is getting all this AIPAC money, the other AIPAC, which is AI PAC money, right, from money from the artificial intelligence industry, is supporting a different candidate, supporting Jesse Jackson Jr., who is trying to get back to Congress after he was put in jail for corruption. And the AI PAC that is called Leading the Future actually has more money in its war chest than AIPAC does. It has 125 million, whereas AIPAC has about 95 million. And a separate PAC for crypto, which we saw try to buy the 2024 elections, has $190 million.
And we should say they got rid of Sherrod Brown in Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
There was a couple other races where they were quite successful in.
Many other. I mean, but they're sort of biding their time because there's active legislation in Congress right now, and they want to see who's going to pass it and who's not. And whoever defies them there, they'll probably throw a bunch of money against those guys. So this is a cancer. I mean, this is the real issue in Democratic politics right now, as I see it. There's a lot of talk about, the soul of the party and whether they should go to abundance or whether they should go towards populism. But the real story is that there are hundreds of millions of dollars being put forward to elect candidates. And the question is, why are these candidates accepting it? And there's a real cross pattern between people who have shown the tendency or capacity for corruption in other forms and people who are all too willing to take this money. And so it goes actually back to the Epstein thing. If you're willing to be personally corrupt, then big money and elites are going to be able to buy you much more easily. And this ultimately, the fact that this is indulged within the Democratic Party is a big part of the problem.
And I imagine, I read the other day that Schumer was really pushing hard to get this crypto legislation, I guess, buttoned up on some level. It permeates. The crypto money in particular.
He did this in 2024, right? He went on a conference call and said that we're, Democrats are the crypto fans, and we want this industry to thrive.
Amazing timing. Like, we're 18
money.
months out from essentially the crypto market. Everybody turning around, going like, "What was this for again?" These are I can see even the like finance guys on Instagram are like, the use case of crypto really seems to have fallen apart at this point.
Okay. The bottom line is that this level of money that, we've always seen special interests play in elections, but not with these kinds of numbers in primary races, where they're the battle for the soul of the party. We have all these discussions about it, but it's happening because massive sums of money are being thrown at people to toe the line on their particular issues. And until the party adopts some way to do something about this, now there have been ideas that in party primaries, maybe you can discourage or maybe even limit the use of super PAC money as a condition of being the endorsed candidate of the party. I don't know exactly how viable that is. I know it was a subject for discussion at the Democratic National Committee. Larry Cohen, who was a Bernie Sanders fan, former head of the Communications Workers of America, this is a real crusade for him and Sanders as well. Something needs to be done. And maybe the Mejia race is an example that, she was outspent by massive amounts of money, and she ends up winning the race. The guy down in Texas who won the state Senate race was outspent 10 to 1
Yep.
Still won the race. So maybe there's diminishing returns to this money. Maybe the fact that people watch less and less television, more and more are online and streaming, maybe that changes the game. But I think we overrate these ideological debates as a factor, and we underrate the massive power of big money as a factor.
Although that money, obviously, in many ways, is another, is like, one is the vapor form and one is the solid form of the same argument in many respects.
I agree. There's cross-pollination there, but ultimately it's the money that's winning out, and we got to do something with that.
Just kudos on the reporting, because this stuff can't be, there can't be diminishing returns for that money if people aren't aware of where it comes from. And that's why it's so important about the reporting you guys are doing.
I appreciate that. And if you want to be hopeful about this, it's the fact that AIPAC realizes they have to be sneaky about this.
Right.
They have to conceal their preferences, because obviously, after the genocide in Gaza and after all of these, the severe change in public opinion around the Israeli government and the entire situation, they realize that they're a toxic brand. And if this is publicized to a greater degree, that money will start to look kind of like Elon Musk's money looks in these political races.
And people should remember Wisconsin in April of last year, I guess it was now, in terms of Elon Musk's money. Although he's putting a lot more back in these races, but that's for another day. All right. Lastly, I want to talk about antitrust. I want to talk about the sports that you are covering, like sort of all the facets of how sports have become worse. Because of largely around antitrust issues. This coming on a day when the chief antitrust lawyer from the DOJ has been ousted, as like Trump's about to go on a merger spree, or signing off on a bunch of mergers, ranging from like Nexstar to there's Ticketmaster stuff. Tell us about the nexus of all that. Well. Yeah.
Right. Well, we'll separate the two out. So yes, Gail Slater was the Assistant Attorney General for Antitrust at the Justice Department. When she came in, there was this thinking that she was a little aligned with the more aggressive antitrust posture that was taken by people like Lena Khan and Jonathan Cantor. She quickly realized that actually what rules Washington at this moment is lobbyist money. And in particular, Mike Davis, who is with the Article 3 project, and he's a big MAGA guy. He's taken millions of dollars from companies who want to get their antitrust problems resolved. And it's not just Mike Davis, Kellyanne Conway, and a guy named Arthur Schwartz is a little more low profile. These guys have appealed to Pam Bondi and her office and had them overrule the antitrust division in a number of cases, whether to green light mergers or to stop monopolization cases from going forward. And the next one that's coming down the pike is Ticketmaster, where in 2024, the Biden administration's antitrust division of the Justice Department filed a case to break up Ticketmaster and Live Nation, which controls event ticketing, venues, artist promotion, and even artist management, and uses that in kind of a flywheel effect where one enables them leverage over the other to create this huge unaccountable monopoly in entertainment. And they hired Mike Davis. They hired Kellyanne Conway. They put Rick Grinnell, who's running the Kennedy Center and is also like an envoy to some national security stuff in the Trump administration. They put him on the Live Nation board. He's on the board of Live Nation now. And they basically said, look, we want this case dropped. We want it settled. Well, Ticketmaster will give some piddling fine, and they'll move on to continue to monopolize live entertainment. And the prelude to this is getting Slater to resign. So functionally, there is no antitrust division at the Justice Department anymore. There is only Pam Bondi and Todd Blanche and what the lobbyists tell them to do, because they're just a bunch of sock puppets. That's what's going on now. And J.D. Vance was, Gail Slater was his staffer, and allegedly he was going to be sort of the protection for Gail Slater. And it turns out he's just a coward in the face of money and power.
Wait,
and
what?
That didn't happen at all.
Wait,
Yes.
what?
Yes.
Exactly.
Exactly.
Are you telling me that J.D. Vance's populist and antitrust posturing was just a ruse?
I'm sad to break this news to you. I don't want to be the one who crushes your dreams and hopes of a bipartisan attack.
But MAGA,
against,
populism.
big money.
I mean,
right. I know. I feel bad having to be the one to say this to you, but I'm sad to say that is.
wow, that is shocking. But at least he put up the good fight and lasted 13 months, right? Or I guess 11 or 12
Not
months.
even really. I mean,
yeah, it's really
Gail
12 months.
Slater, I don't want to uplift Gail Slater as sort of the last bastion against all of this. In her 13 months, the Justice Department Antitrust Division didn't bring a single monopolization case. They didn't bring a single merger challenge. She basically thought, like, okay, if I am still here and I sort of meekly disagree with this pay-to-play corruption, then I can justify my job. But she had no intention of leaving until she was basically told, you're either going to be fired or you resign. And then she resigned. That was how this went down.
Why would you do that? Why would you
sit
resign instead of getting fired?
Well, because now she can go back and say, look, I had principles, and I wasn't, someone who just sat there and was willing to take it. And so she stepped down. And maybe now there'll be some narrative that Gail Slater, the bold person inside the Trump administration who bravely quit rather than do the bidding of lobbyists, but it's all bullshit.
Right.
She was totally ready to do that bidding with sort of mild opprobrium until she was told she wasn't allowed to do that anymore.
That's why I don't understand. I mean, this is neither here nor there. I don't understand the logic. Why wouldn't you resign so that you could show that were at loggerheads with them? Like anybody
who
resigned
6 months ago when they settled her one merger challenge. They went over the heads of the antitrust division and settled. It was a Hewlett Packard Enterprise and Juniper Networks. And actually, we're going to have a proceeding. We're going to have a hearing before a federal judge on that merger settlement, where Mike Davis and Arthur Schwartz and some other people at the Justice Department are going to be deposed by state attorneys general. And we're going to hear about all of this. All of this rot is going to come out.
That's the last sort of like bastion is the state attorney generals, who these companies, they have a claim because a lot of them have antitrust laws on their state books. How much is it possible? Can a judge say, you know what, based upon this action brought by the attorney general from California or from Massachusetts or New York, wherever it is, Kansas for that matter, well, not Kansas, but we're going to revert. We're not going to accept this deal. I mean, can a judge?
Yes, and that's in fact exactly what's at issue in the Hewlett Packard Juniper case. It's a law called the Tunney Act. And the Tunney Act says that a federal judge can look at a settlement that was made in a case and decide whether or not it was in the public interest. And the state attorneys general are saying, actually, this was not in the public interest. This was done because lobbyists wanted it to be done. And the judge can look at that evidence, let those people who are at the heart of this be deposed, and then decide, no, this was not in the public interest, and I'm not allowing this settlement to go through. And so, and in addition, state attorneys general have the ability to sue under the Sherman Act, under the Clayton Act, and 40 states joined the Justice Department on the Ticketmaster case. And I have every belief that at least some of them will stay on that case and that we will have a trial in that case which was supposed to be, it's supposed to start at the beginning of March, actually. So that's probably still going to happen, but they're going to have fewer resources, obviously, if they don't have the federal government involved. And the fact that the federal government settled is going to be a factor probably in the judge and how they look at the case. So this obviously still is a blow. But, you know, I think we have to look at this for what it is. It's total corruption. And if Democrats get back the White House and Congress in 2029, they should move to basically nullify everything that this Justice Department Antitrust Division has done and reverse all of these merger approvals, reverse all of these settlements in these monopolization cases, and go right back to square one.
And they should go on record now to do that,
That's right.
so that these companies can't pretend like they didn't know.
That's right.
Come that day. All right, so let's talk about the sports issue. I'm sorry Emma's not here because she obviously is, very sports oriented. But
she's the fan.
But within the context of this, like, sports wrapped up in questions of affordability, in questions of how much a municipality or a state, for that matter, should be subsidizing a private enterprise. Tell us the scope of what you're covering on this issue.
So we had a partnership on this with the Groundwork Collaborative, and all of the stories are out now. They're at prospect.org/sports. You can find every single story there. And the reason that we did it is that, you know, sports is kind of like the last thing that we all have a mass culture around in America. 93 of the top 100 television programs in terms of audience were sports in the last year. You can go into any bar in America and talk about sports, and you'd probably get a real reception. There are common sort of facts that we point to. These guys won the tournament, or these guys were the Super Bowl champions. It's hard to be in dispute on that. And people understand the game, and they actually understand the economics of the game, whether it's salary caps or, they understand it in the context of their teams, of their fans. And on the field, I think the reason that there's such commonality there is that on the field, the principles of competition and fairness are really paramount. We have umpires and referees that look at the game. The idea is that between the lines, if you're overconfident, you can lose to a team that works harder. All of those things are very American, we tell ourselves they're very American ideals. Off the field, we've completely migrated away from that. 20% of all billionaires own a share, at least, of a sports franchise. In this case, it's an incredible statistic. The top level of sports is dominated by the oligarchs who are like the kings and queens of our previous eras. And the rest of us are kind of poking our way to even see inside. The prices for entry into sports arenas and stadiums has gone up precipitously, especially since the pandemic. There are now fewer seats in most stadiums because they reserve more space for luxury boxes. So there are actually more tickets on sale for Major League Baseball in 1994 than there were last year because of this phenomenon of smaller ballparks with more luxury seating. So we've turned sports into kind of a gated community where if you're rich and powerful, you can get in to see, and if not, you can sort of poke through the fence hole and watch. But even there, we're paying for that through streaming prices and things like that. And then, many of the struggles that we see in sports are mirrors of struggles we see in other contexts, whether it's labor. A good example is the WNBA is probably going to go on strike this year. Other sports franchises, because of their collective bargaining agreements.
A fact that I saw in the piece about that, they get about 9% of their league's revenue relative to like all other sports where it's closer to like 30% of the revenue?
No, it's closer to 50%.
50% of the
because
revenue
their
goes to the
collective
players.
bargaining agreements. Right. And who are the talent? Like, you don't go to a game to watch the owners. You know, there's the labor aspect. There's the aspect of, you know, in college sports, for example, where players didn't get paid at all for a long time. And now that they are, the NCAA and college administrators are appealing to Congress to try to stop the crisis of sports and that crisis in college. And that crisis is that the players are actually getting paid for their value. We have a great story in there about these, they're almost like payday loans that agents place upon young players, telling them, oh, we'll give you $2 million up front, and all you have to do is give us 10% of your income in perpetuity. And they did this to several players, including star players who, you know, signed $300 million contracts in baseball and then have to give tens of millions of dollars to this agency that gave them a little bit of money up front. They call it athlete finance, and it's a predatory lending scheme that we go into in this issue. And so, you know, a lot of the things that we see in our economy and society, runaway inequality, financialization, struggles of labor, it's all mirrored in sports in a way that I think people who aren't tuned in to these debates can actually readily understand. And so that's why we put this together.
I mean, that's what I think the utility, I mean, the stories are fascinating. Like just the one that you cited too, the sort of like venture capital for human beings on some weird way.
Yeah.
But all these stories are great things to send to your relatives. I mean, because it is an entree into understanding some of the fundamental problems that we have in our economy and the way it's structured and the exploitive nature of our economy without it seeming like you're talking about politics on some level. And that's what I appreciate about it so much. And you also have, there's a great piece about the online sports betting, which has become nuts.
Yeah, I should have mentioned that one. Yeah, that's absolutely insane. And one of the things we get into that I haven't seen in there's been a lot of stories about gambling, is how this is dropping down into not just college, but high school and even junior high school. We talked to a principal who was like principal of the year who says, I hear kids talking about parlay bets who are like 14 and 15 years old. And so it's obviously like this huge social epidemic that is particularly infecting like young men and young boys. And the rise of prediction markets who are trying to get out of the actual gambling regulation. They're just sports betting that they use the fact that you know, the technology is somewhat different to say that, oh, actually, we don't have to apply, we don't have to comply with any state gambling laws. It's absolutely insane. And it's, you know, we're starting to see some pushback. Maryland and Vermont have bills to actually end online sports gambling in their states. And I suspect we're going to see more in the years to come.
The predictive markets thing, my God, the best was that we were talking about this, I think at the beginning of the week, Jesus, 5% chance coming back by 2027. Did you know that?
Do you know why that is?
Yes, because, will you explain the derivatives market?
Yeah.
Yes.
There is a separate prediction market that is betting on whether the prediction market on Jesus will get to a certain number.
So in other words, what people are betting on is whether there are enough people who think that Jesus is coming back in 2027, that they will bet in that first bet that Jesus is coming back by 2027. The number will go from, because it's predictive, not an odds line, because it's a prediction, that 7% of people will bet that Jesus is coming back by 2027. And you're betting on whether it will go from 5% to 7%. And then there's another derivative market that is betting on where People will predict
Right.
the
It's
prediction of
completely
Jesus
abstracted.
returning. It's so insane.
But the point is that there's no reason that the same people who are betting on whether that number will go from 5 to 7 are the people who are betting on whether Jesus is going to come back, right? So they're manipulating the first
Right.
market
So
to cash in on the second market.
the way you do that, just in case you're interested, is I will bet $10 that Jesus is going to come back by 2027, and I'm going to get
Right.
a bunch of other people to bet $10. But on the secondary market, on the derivative bet, I'm going to bet $40 that it's going to go up.
Right.
So I'm going to lose my $10 bet, but I'm going to win my $40 bet because
That's
I
right.
placed that $10 bet.
And that's called rank market manipulation. And these are funny, and sometimes these are really dangerous. Like there was a whale that made money off of Maduro being captured, and there was
Yes.
a belief that this was a White House insider who was making money off of White House policy. And all of that is insane, and it really calls into question a whole bunch of stuff. But the reality is 90% of the bets on prediction markets are sports betting. Like we should keep this in perspective. These are sports gambling sites that are trying to get around regulation of gambling.
It is and to see guys like Maloney, Sean Maloney, who was the former DCCC, he is now like the chief lobbyist for predictive markets, doing videos about how like this is going to help us see the future and formulate policy and blah blah blah. Like, like where's the Democratic Party on the idea that there's a 5% chance of Jesus coming in 2027? Like, how does that impact who we should choose for our nominee? Because if Jesus is back, I mean, it's going to impact, like, you don't want some out and out atheist to be the nominee in 2027 if Jesus comes back and then that person looks like they're an idiot, right? I mean,
but what are Jesus's views on land use? That's my real question, and zoning. Like that,
well, that's the thing. Jesus is just going to be like, let the chips fall where they may.
Anyway, yeah. So it's
I think it's just a great
sports,
and this is going to be up there. We should just tell people all of these stories are evergreen, and so they are great pieces to send to your like. I mean, obviously they're great to read yourself, but they have a utility that I think a lot of like. Stories about this don't have in the same way because it is such a universal sort of like language in our society.
And we are, to be fair, we are starting to see Democrats talk a lot about this stuff. I talked to Chris Deluzio for the issue. I know some others are talking about surveillance pricing, for example, at stadiums and things like that.
In New York,
ticketing.
I think we're putting like there is now going to be some what do you call it notices of surveillance pricing in
oh yeah, well that's a separate thing, but yes, basically I mean this is disclosure law, which is second order, but anytime you are on a phone, let's say, and you're making a purchase of I don't know, a Target or something, if that price was derived using your personal information, there will be a disclaimer that comes up that says, warning, this price was set based on your personal data and information. And, companies attempted to have that thrown out of court and they were unsuccessful. So that is true in the state of New York. That is a reality now.
And that's good stuff because I think it's a lot of people are going to be surprised.
I think we can go further.
Without a doubt. But I'm not convinced that you can go further without people understanding what's going on. And that is a great way to let people know that as an interim step. David Dayen, always a pleasure. Thanks so much for your time today. We'll put a link to the prospect.org/sports because I do not see it, to be honest with you, up on your menu bar or your what do you call those, banner?
Well, I think it says current issue, and that's where it is. But we'll change the language there for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I want to see sports vertical.
Yeah, you'll get there.
All right. See that? Getting results. David Dayen, thanks so much for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thanks a lot.
Bye.
Bye.
Well, I'm going to go around to all the websites and see if it's that easy.
See if you can get a carpentry one over there.
Executive editor.
I got a lot of issues with the Handyman Monthly.
Tell me about it. Don't get me started on Handyman Monthly.
I really want to work this. I really want to sit down with somebody who can show me with his derivatives because I want to make a buttload on this whole Jesus thing.
I know.
It's a beautiful sentence. I know. That's pretty much what the starter of every mega church has said.
But I mean, but here's the thing: is like that's when you're gonna know. Like I'm about to ride off into the sunset, where I'm like, listen, everybody, I want you all to go place a bet that Jesus is coming 2027, and then I'm in the derivatives market and just cashing it in. We are definitely I cannot tell people how many times it's at least once a week where I'm like, how did we not capitalize on the whole accusation that TYT leveled against this, or that Anna what's her face leveled against this, that we were advertising for Kamala Harris, because the bet was live and I 100% knew that we had not, we've never taken any money from a politician or a political group. And it was because Polymarket you weren't allowed to bet on it, right? But I mean, somebody must have had.
Told one of our European listeners.
My sister has friends in Europe. And I could have just somehow got money there and just made a killing. Does it matter? Do other people have to bet
yes,
for there to be?
That's how you make it.
So that was the problem. Is that there's only three people,
right? For
three
instance,
TYT listeners who are like, it doesn't matter what the odds are.
I think the Jesus pot is over 20 million now.
Really?
Yeah.
Smart thing would have been to act as if we were embarrassed by what Anna said, and then place all the bets so that
we are so outraged by this, we're not going to even address it at all.
It's beneath us.
It's totally.
Bye.
Just didn't think quick enough on this whole thing.
I still feel bad about what was the thing that all the money went to businesses during COVID?
Oh, PPP
loan.
Left Reckoning could have easily got some of that. I was too lazy.
Yeah.
Lazy coin. Folks, it's your support that makes this show possible. You can become a member at jointhemajorityreport.com. When you do, you not only get the free show free of commercials, but you also get the fun half, and you can IM us via the fun half or during the fun half. Also, that's jointhemajorityreport.com. Also, justcoffee.coop, fair trade coffee, tea, chocolate. No, just fair trade coffee and hot chocolate. Use the coupon code majority, get 10% off. Mini psychologist. Maybe figure out some social media basics, like your own camera's white balance before offering unsolicited advice on optics. Love you. Left is best.
This is like a mood filter.
Yeah. I'm sorry. Listen, I have no problem with people having an issue, preferring a different vision of the show. But understand, there isn't a pixelated version or a blurry. When I'm out of focus, it is completely a function of my artistic vision for the show.
It's intentional, yeah.
Yes. There is a vernacular that we use here. And it is, you don't go and say to Picasso, why all the weird shapes? Right?
Maybe learn how to draw a human face
exactly.
before you give unsolicited advice.
Dude, the face is round. What are you doing? Matt, Left Reckoning.
Left Reckoning, I have a Sunday show coming up for patrons, patreon.com/Left Reckoning. But new Jacobin show, we had Sasha Abramsky of The Nation talking about his new book on Doge. We also talked about Mark Zuckerberg moving to Miami. And also Hassan Piker making a lot of people mad. Check that out over on the Jacobin show that was up this morning, Jacobin Mag YouTube channel.
See you in the fun half. 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months from now. And I don't think it's going to be the same as it looks like in 6 months from now. And I don't know if it's necessarily going to be better 6 months from now than it is 3 months from now. But I think around 18 months out, we're going to look back and go like, wow. What? What is that going on? It's nuts. Wait a second. Hold on for a second.
The Majority Report.
Emma, welcome to the program.
Hey.
Matt.
What is up, everyone?
Nomi Key.
You did it. Let's go, Brandon.
Let's go, Brandon.
Bradley, you want to say hello?
Sorry to disappoint everyone. I'm just a random guy.
It's all the boys today.
Fundamentally false. No, I'm sorry. Women's.
Stop talking for a second and let me finish.
Where is this coming from, dude?
But dude, you want to smoke this 7A?
Yes.
Hi, me? Is it?
Yes.
Is this me?
Is it me?
It is you.
Is this me? Hello? Is this me?
I think it is you. Who is you? No sound. Every single freaking day. What's on your mind?
Sports. We can discuss free markets and we can discuss capitalism.
I'm gonna go throw up.
Libertarians. They're so stupid, though. Common sense says, of course.
Gobbledygook.
We fucking